right? $9.5 billion. So what? US lost $1.1 trillion. You see Shaitan's logic? Shaitan has no logic. How would you do that? When a political person takes a bribe, $10,000, he knows the country will lose $1 billion because of that bribe. And he still takes it. So Shaitan we have no excuse. Just simple logic would say, no, Shaitan's way is not the way. So, how did that work? They spent $1.1 trillion. What that did, you see from 2003, you see the curve going up?
Yeah.
GDP curve. So Shaitan, remember what Shaitan justifies? Say, mashallah, this is great for our economy. So which economic theory will show that they're wrong? Not their economic theory. You see the point? You cannot use their economic theory to say, you are wrong, look at our GDP, so it is good for the economy. So you have to be able to question their theory and say, no, this is nonsense. So how do you do that? We'll see that. It's the same one. Recently, the NATO thing is going on, right? Trump wants to pull out of NATO. Look at how much money. It's always about money. That's the contribution of US. And US is other side of the ocean. And they're paying all that money for what? To save Europe from whom? Who's threatening?
From Russia.
What is the difference between Russia and US? Or Russia or UK? They're both Christian country. They are both capitalists. Think about it. Before there was an excuse, they're communist. Now there is no excuse. So why are you so frightened over Russia? It's this logic, simple mantik question nobody asks.
But there are still they claim that we have similarities like democracy,
They still call Putin
all those things.
dictator.
Yeah. When it comes to Russia, so it's a dictatorship.
That's what they say, but it's not true. He was elected. They have a constitution. They have more fair election than US election. So nothing is true about Shaitan. But more importantly, Trump is the only guy questioning this. What are you doing? Why are you spending all our money? Only guy in US history said, we have to cut down our Pentagon budget by half. Can you imagine? Trump, the guy who says military power is everything, he's saying we have to cut down our budget by half, Pentagon budget. This is out of control. It doesn't take, if a villager can see the logic, and when it comes to, he's the outsider, that's why he could say it. From inside nobody can, because they are all in the pocket of Shaitan. Okay, here, military budget, right? Look, US's military budget. Alone, 41% of the whole world. Who are they most frightened of? Russia. Look at Russia. Yet, talk about productivity. Russia has the biggest stockpile of nuclear weapons. You know that. They have the fastest rockets. They have the most sophisticated missile system. Yet, look at their budget. So what happened? Who's stealing the money? That's why I say, do not do the budget first. Who gives it? Even Shaitan has that kind of productivity. How about Afghanistan? It was a joke, remember? US spent $1.1 trillion and they lost the war. How much did Taliban spend? We used to joke about it. They said 1 to million ratio. Muslims $1 is worth Kafirs $1 billion. We cannot fight because we have Allah with us. It's very logical. If Shaitan among themselves can be that much productive, we should be far more productive. We should have 0.1% and beat those guys. without new technology. And as mentioned, even tomorrow, if you find organic way to process gold and minerals, right away, or lithium, right away, you are world leader. You're number one in the world. So don't look at them for giving you technology. You develop technology from Islam. What is the fuel of that? You have heard the word GDP. It's a very important economic term. It equals consumption, investment, government spending, net export. When it comes to GDP, nothing matches US. And no more poorer country than Afghanistan. Isn't it true? You can look it up. It's Afghanistan is so poor, mashallah, subhanallah, GDP is so bad. Yet, now I think 3 years. 3 years in a row, Afghan currency is the strongest. They will tell you. Did you know that? Afghan currency, Afghani is the strongest currency in the world. But their GDP is low. What is the difference? Do you see that? Consumption. You see how Shaitan plays a role. Consumption. Consumption could be in prostitution. Consumption could be in porno. It's the same. Consumption could be in war. Consumption could be in killing, in hospital giving bad medicine. It's the same. So when they invested so-called $1 trillion, it went to the GDP. Why is that? Because it's a Shaitan's definition. So can you see that you cannot use Shaitan's definition and Shaitan's economic theory and prove Shaitan wrong? Prophet said, we're right, look at this graph. You have to be able to question that. What made you what made you put consumption there? Is consumption for good and bad the same? We want to differentiate, we want to maximize consumption in good. What is the best consumption you can have? What is the best spending of money you can have? Charity, isn't it? Second, education, isn't it? So if you describe, attack the theory and say, I'm going to replace that consumption with good spending and bad spending. And bad spending I'll throw out. Then you have a new theory right there. It's not very difficult. That's what I've done in those two books that you have, the economics books. So if you talk about the Iraq war, you see that total human cost alone is $2.3 trillion. That means you invested 1.5, you lost 2.3 trillion. Does it look like a good investment? It's a terrible investment. But that's why now, when it comes to intangible, remember intangible is everything. The book is called Economics of Intangibles. Killing one is like killing entire humanity. Who says that? Quran says that.
Yeah.
Right? So how much price do you want to put? The intangible cost is killed a whole entire humanity. How much are you liable for? It's infinity. Facade on environment. The environment, the facade they created in Iraq. Again, that's in Quran. Starting facade, and Quran also says that if you start a facade, you are accountable rest of your life. For all the way function of T going to the day of judgment. So your liability is extremely high. That's the economic term. So which economic theory will show this to be correct? You have to come up with a new theory. So that's why we have to do pathway analysis for everything. When you talk about function of time, you include everything, including intangibles. For every process, you have to consider all the intangible costs. And that's what will cost you if you start off something in terms of budget. You have to consider the whole path. I'll stop there, but I'll post this. But I'll just, last slide I'll show is remember 4:119. The first thing Shaitan wanted to do is cross Dalala. The biggest Dalala, mother of all Dalala, is human population is a liability. This picture, if you go to UN, I told you before, the biggest problem humanity is facing is population. And which example do they give? This is a picture from Afghanistan. Afghanistan, their symbol, icon for population is bad. Do you see the trick? It's from UN. I've seen an UN office right here. Yet, Allah, what did Allah say? Humans, the best creation, human is the only one Allah created with His own hand. Imagine that. Two things come out of it. The dignity of hand. When you work, if you work with your hand, don't you feel ashamed? Say, oh, you're a janitor, you are a blacksmith. We take pride in doing mental work. I go on computer and punch button. Say, mashallah, I have to give my daughter to you. But hand labor, we look at it as a bad thing. Allah has given dignity to hand. His handmade, this is the dignity. And that makes Adam the unique. And he's our father. And they're telling you that this Allah's creation, that Allah made with His own hand, is a liability.
What is a scratcher?
And you believe them. Aql is a very simple thing. You just ask the Mante question, what made you think that? Quran says the opposite. Just like Adam should have asked, you want me to go to the tree? But Allah just said the opposite. We have to be able to ask those Mante questions. So I'll close it today. But I'll post all the slides for you to view, and please view them, review them, and if you have questions, you can ask.